Good morning, my brothers and my sisters. This is Pastor Dennis Singleton, and I just wanted to come this morning and share a few words of encouragement with you. I'll be honest, it's been a minute. I think sometimes we come to places in our life, and I want to touch a little bit on this, I guess, this COVID-19 thing, but not in the sense of the conspiracy theory or to add any more conspiracy, because I believe there is enough out there. But I do want to say, and I do want to remind us as believers, I think we do share a certain responsibility to Christ and how we address and how we readdress things. So I'd like to start by just reminding us that the Bible does declare, and as I said, it's been a minute, and trouble sometimes brings us to a place where we really have to look at our own lives. I've spent some time, I'd like to say, on the bench, and I've done so by choice. I believe there are times when God has tried to put me back in the game, but we allow our confidence and our guilt and even sometimes our fears to say, hey, you're not worthy, and time has passed by, and you're not capable. But at the end of the day, this is something I think that in this present time, if we don't come to understand, it would have all been in vain. We're never worthy. We are never capable. It is Him who has started a good work in us that is able to complete it unto the end. So I want to just encourage us. I had a friend of mine that I reached out to yesterday, a very dear friend of mine. But believe it or not, in the times that we were most in each other's presence, it didn't feel that way. There was a lot of strife and I would say unnecessary bickering between us. And in this one of my greatest times of need and despair and uncertainty, God put it upon my heart to reach out to Him. And the person that I thought was not the most likely person reminded me that, Dennis, God is not finished. God is still able. God is still capable. God is still God all by Himself. And even on this day, besides Him, there is no other. You need to get out of your own way, get out of your own self-righteousness, get out of your own guilt, get out of your own shame, and remind people with the word that God has placed in you that God is still God, and that God will take the foolish things of the world to confine the wise. So I want to thank my brother for reminding me of who I am and whose I am, and to giving me the courage and the strength to use this social media platform just to encourage. And I pray that God will give me the strength and that God will give me the wisdom to remind us of a couple of things as we go through this time of trouble. Now, let's understand this. The Bible declares in Psalms chapter 46, starting with verse 1, that God is our refuge and our strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. Now, one of the things that I like here is that God doesn't characterize our times of trouble. God doesn't say when you did something wrong, or when you caused the consequences, or when someone else did something wrong and worked the consequence upon you, or if it's something out loud, as grandma would used to say, or always would say, trouble don't last always, and sometimes God is just doing things to test us. This is one of those times where I think it's not as important that we try to figure out the who's and the whys and the what's. All right, but that we come to understand what our response should be, not just according to the health experts and the social experts, whom are very important, because God created that wisdom. God allowed that level of intelligence. There is no intelligence like we've seen come across our networks that is capable of being able to break things down like this and give us directions such as social distancing and then those kinds of things, except that God be present. But God said, look, be mindful of this. Regardless of who, what, and why, I'm your refuge and your strength. Yes, exercise wisdom. Be foolish not to. Yes, follow direction. My people perish because of lack of knowledge. Not because of the color of their skin, not because of their upbringing, not because who their mother was, who their father was. Yes, there are things about our past that have a bearing, but they don't have to dictate our future. And we're in such a time right now where I think if we really look to God, the Bible declares that that he is a very present help in a time of trouble. All right. But there are some things I think he really wants us to look to. All right. And I think if we can kind of focus a little bit on what does God want from me? Yes, I'm doing the things that I'm told to do. I'm practicing social distance. I'm washing my hands. I've got all the sanitizer I need, and I'm wearing gloves, and I'm wearing masks in public places. But what now, God? Well, the first thing, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick points because I don't want this to be long, is we got to trust in God. All right. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord and trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. So the first thing we have to do is trust. How do we trust? All right. We trust with all our heart, not parts of your heart. All right. I'm going to show you something in Romans chapter 8 and 28 where God needs it all. Right. So God don't need you to just give him the good part of your heart. God doesn't need you to throw out the bad part of your heart or the confused part of your heart or the part that's fear. God says, I need to work this thing all together. So I need you to trust in me with all your heart. All right, watch this. And then lean not onto your own understanding. All right. See, what happens is when we have conditions upon our heart, all right, that have caused suffering and some have caused good, we tend to let our heart dictate the direction in which we're going to lean. Now, God says, no, I need you to lean, but I need you to trust with me in all of your heart and lean not onto your own understanding. Again, in all your ways, everything, every thought. All right, bring it unto subjection. Every fear, every confidence, every faith. God, I said, I need you to acknowledge me in all your ways, and then guess what? I'm going to direct your path. Right? I'm going to be able to shed some light on what's real and what's not, what's live and what's Memorex. All right, everything that's said across the internet, you can't take it in and allow it to just lock you up and lock you down. God says, yes, there's stuff that I'm allowing to be put out there, but also there is stuff that the enemy will put out there in times of fear. So I'm not focusing on as much the pandemic, although I'm taking it serious. It is no joke, my people. You need to understand it. But what does God say? And then God said there's got to come time when we have to just walk in some faith. Most people maybe don't see Romans chapter 8 and 28 as a verse of faith, but listen to me here. And all things shall work together for the good. Now that's faith right there. God, I believe that everything that I've gone through, everything that has happened, every circumstance, every event in life will work together for my good. But let me take a important part of scripture here and let you understand that it can't be left out. All right. All things will work together for the good for them that love God. Now God says, acknowledge me in all your ways. All right. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. All right. And in all your ways, acknowledge me. And then all things will work together for the good if I love God and I'm either called according to his purpose. All right. So God will take a season. All right. That is something we've never seen before. All right. Because he's God by himself. And besides him, there is no other. All right. And he'll take it. All right. And he'll bring forth something because his ways are not our ways and his thoughts are not our thoughts. But we need to be focused, trust. All right. Have faith. And then we have to have expectations, right? Because Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know that the things that I think toward you, saith the Lord, are thoughts of peace and not of evil, and to give you an expected end. So I have to have an expectation. God, I'm going to trust you. All right. I'm going to have faith, and then I'm going to have an expectation, God. Lord, I'm going to listen to the Dr. Fowlers of the world. I'm going to read as much as I can to get the knowledge I need so that I don't perish because of lack of knowledge. But God, as a believer, all right, I have to believe that no different than when you gave Noah direction to build an ark in a place where it hadn't rained in years, that there was an expected end as a result of the direction that you gave him. All right. So God, I'm going to have an expectation that you have not allowed something to come into this person. Yes, death has come as a result of it. Sickness has come as a result of it. But I still believe that in the end, and while my prayers go out to those who have lost loved ones and who have endured pain and suffering during this time, that we serve a God that is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all we could ever ask or think, according to the power that still worketh within us. And then we have to have confidence. Philippians 1:6 reminds us that being confident of this very thing, that he who hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. So I trust God. I hear the doctors. I hear the experts. I'm seeking wisdom, all right, so that I won't perish as a result of lack of it, right, so that I may walk in knowledge. But I got to trust God, all right, because he's the author and he's the finisher of my faith, right? It is him who started a good work in me that's able to complete it to him. I got to have faith that, you know what, God, I don't know how you're going to do it. All right. But somehow out of this, you're going to get water, sugar, and lemon together, and it's going to quench our thirst. All right. Because the ingredients separate of each other might not be satisfying to the place of quenching. But when God takes the stuff, all right, all of it, all right, and brings it together, he has a way of bringing it in. And expectation, as he reminds us in Jeremiah 29:11, for the thoughts, I know that the thoughts that I think towards you are not thoughts not thoughts of evil, but of peace, and to bring you to an expected end. And then I'm confident. And if I may just leave us with a few testimonies of some of the prior saints, sometimes historical testimonies are encouraging. And remind us that we're not the first to see trouble. And guess what? We're not going to be last. All right. But Job reminds us in Job chapter 13, verse 15, though he slay me, guess what? I am going to trust him. All right. And I'm going to continue to stand before him. The Bible reminds us that Job had lost everything. He had lost children. He had lost wealth. His friends were of no help to him. His wife had even offered no support, even suggested, come on, man, just give it up. But God said, but Job said, you know what? Although I'm going through this, there's a reason, all right? And I'm going to focus on him who has allowed me to be sustainable in this time. And I'm not going to worry about the naysayers, all right? And the ones that say, you know what? It's too late. You know what? What did you do? You know what? God is mad at you. Oftentimes when you're going through, the first question someone I ask is, what did you do? Maybe it is something you did. Maybe it's just God's way of saying, hey, it is time for you to grow up. It is time for you to mature. It's time for you to get off of this cycle of destruction, all right? Self-destruction. And yes, I'm not saying that what we're going through is the result of anything that God is trying to say to us. I don't know. All right. But I know that there needs to be a focus from us because a confidence comes from us. All right. The earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestations of the sons of God. So there is a world out here that don't know what to do. And they're looking to believers and saying, okay, now you still trust that God? You still serve that God? You still believe that God is good? You still believe that? Why would he allow this? Sometimes it don't have to be in your answers. Sometimes it can be simply in your response, your behavior, your actions, your confidence. Daniel reminded us. We were reminded in Daniel chapter 3. So we saw Job, right? Trust. We see the Hebrew boys, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Daniel chapter 3, verse 16 and 17. We know the king was about to do something horrible to them because they wouldn't bow down. They wouldn't serve him. And so watch these brothers. Watch these young men. They said, oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. Sometimes I don't have an answer, nor do I need to give one. All right. This is simply what they said. If it is the case, then they're saying, if you do what you say you're going to do. All right. Watch this. They said, if that be the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand. All right. So again, don't know why it's here. Don't know who caused it. I don't know if it's 4G, 5G, 6G that we don't know about. I don't know if it's man-made, if it's a biological weapon. All I know is it's trouble. And God said that I'm your refuge and your strength, and I'm always ready to help you in your time of trouble. He said, I will be a very present help in your time of trouble. And the testimony of grandma says, trouble don't last always, but where am I going to be on the other side of this trouble? And then we look at our brother Jacob, all right? Genesis chapter 32, he's wrestling with a man. And the Bible declares, as he's in the midst of this, that the man reaches into his joint, all right, and knocks his hip out of socket. And he said, the man even said to him, let me go, for the day breaks. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And he said, and the man said, okay, look. This joker will not give up. He's going to fight unto the end. And he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with me, and you have prevailed. All right. Sometimes our victory is in our ability to fight until the end. My brothers and my sisters, this thing is real. But I come off the bench because it's time for every believer to stand up and declare that we trust God, we have faith, He's given us an expectation, we have confidence, and we have the testimony of those who have gone before us during great trial and tribulation to say, God, I'm going to trust you. God, I'm going to believe in you. And God, I know you will bless me. I didn't intend to be before you this long, but I just pray that you find it, whatever it is you need, that God would be able, during this time of turbulence, to get you to the place He's trying to get you to, even as I pray for myself. Father God, I ask your blessings upon us, these your people. Forgive us, God, for we have sinned and we have fallen short. I pray your peace that passeth all understanding. God, I pray, God, that you heal up our land, for if your people who are called by your name would turn from the wicked ways and humble themselves and seek your face, you will hear from heaven and you will heal our land. Bless those that have suffered loss, God, and pain and trial. Give us the wisdom, God, to be people of knowledge, but more importantly, people of trust, faith, expectation, and confidence in you, knowing that you've done it before, you can do it again. Bless you, my brothers and sisters. This is Pastor Dennis Singleton, and I wish you God's love and Godspeed. Be safe.